So everyone, today we're going to discuss how electric motorcycles and electric cars are going to start causing problems for driving licenses. So here in the UK, you've got two different types of licenses. You've got a manual license and an automatic license, and it goes for both cars and motorcycles. Well, technically speaking, electric cars, electric motorcycles are going to be automatic. So say for example you are a younger person taking your driving test or your motorcycle test and you take it on an electric motorcycle. Well, does that only entitle you to ride bikes that are electric or automatic? Oh my goodness. Look at that. No wonder my foot was so slippery on it earlier. Yeah, made the same mistake again, riding in the bloody mud. We've had a lot of rain recently. But you know what I mean? How is all that going to work? Because I imagine that the norm in the near future is going to be that you have to do your motorcycle test on an electric motorcycle. So then if that does give you the right then automatically to ride manual motorcycles as well, then does that mean that anyone with an automatic driving license can automatically just go ahead and ride a manual motorcycle? How the hell would that work? Because it will get to a point where you're going to be riding both. The manuals aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Motorcycles with a clutch and a gearbox, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. We're still going to be finding these motorcycles well into the 2030s and maybe even 2040s. But I can only imagine that by that point, the license kind of standard, if you like, will change, so it's only going to be electric cars or electric motorcycles that you'll be taking your test in. And it was a really interesting thought that came to my mind about how that's going to work and where does that leave people that have automatic driving licenses, automatic motorcycle licenses as they stand right now, and where does that leave us? It's really, I don't know how they're going to figure this one out. But right now, here in the UK, if you do your test, your motorcycle test or your driving test, in an automatic or an automatic motorcycle, then that only entitles you to drive and ride automatic motorcycles and cars. That's it. You are not allowed to ride a manual motorcycle or a car. Simple as that. And if you get caught doing that, then you're probably going to get a load of points on your license and all that stuff. Thing is, here in the UK and in Europe, the vast majority of us, we drive manual cars. We don't drive automatic cars. I think automatic cars are coming through a little bit more popular these days because a lot of modern cars are just automatics. I mean, like my Audi TT from back in the day when I used to have that. It's a 2019 model. Those cars were only automatics. You couldn't buy a manual one, at least not after, I think, 2015 or 2016, something like that. So automatics are becoming more prevalent, and it makes sense because sooner or later, when we're all driving around electric cars, well, there won't be any point, will there, in knowing how to drive a manual. I still think it's a valuable skill to have, all right? If you are, I don't know, if you're like 10 years old right now, maybe 5 years old right now, or you have children who by the time they take their driving test, by the time they're old enough that it might not actually be in a manual that they'll end up taking their test, it might be in an electric car. I still think it's a valuable skill to have, so if you have the choice, definitely still go for a manual license just in case, and you know how to drive both. If you know how to drive a fully manual car or a manual motorcycle, you are going to know how to ride an automatic. Yeah, so it's definitely a valuable skill to have, even if you have the choice. All right, even if the norm is electric or automatic. But yeah, it's just a really interesting concept, and I really don't know the answer to this one. I can only speculate, and I can only kind of give out kind of recommendations that I think you lot should do as and when that time comes. But I still hope that electric is just a pipe dream and we're not going to be going to that utopian future. It sounds utopian anyway. But that is certainly the direction that all governments want us to go right now. They want us to be all electric by 2035, 2040. And here in the UK, it's been delayed, hasn't it, from 2030 to 2035, and I imagine that extends motorcycles from 2035 to 2040. But a lot of these motorcycle brands, and same with the car brands, they're going electric anyway. Kawasaki have already jumped in with electric. Harley Davidson already jumped in with electric. So you can kind of imagine that that's where these manufacturers are going to go regardless. And eventually that will impact on the licensing, how we license new road users, new drivers, new motorcyclists. It's going to happen. It's going to happen sooner rather than later, I suspect. But still, driving a manual is a learner right now. I've encountered 2 learners on this journey already. Driving a manual, knowing how to ride, how to drive a manual is still very, very important. Okay, very important skill. This technology isn't going anywhere. All right, we've been riding around internal combustion engines, driving internal combustion engines for best part of 100 years, more than 100 years now. All right, so it's not going anywhere anytime soon. This technology is still going to be around probably the next 100 years. All right, especially when you look at locomotives or trucks, that tech is not going anywhere. So knowing how to drive or how to ride a manual is definitely worth it, in my humble opinion. Okay, but let me know what you think. How is this going to work here in the UK? If you are driving or learning to drive even in an electric car, does that mean that you are automatically going to be put in an electric or an automatic driving test? Probably. Because electric cars and electric motorcycles, they share more in common with fully automatics than they do with manuals, you know? So it makes a hell of a lot of sense if they were to do it that way, but at some point or other they're probably going to have to make some concessions, because right now, okay, you have to do 2 theory tests if you want to know how to drive, or if you want to be allowed to drive a car and you want to be allowed to ride a motorcycle. You have to do 2 theory tests. You've got to do, imagine drivers having to do 2 theory tests and 2 practical driving tests to be able to drive electric and manual. That would absolutely suck. But that might be the only way. Because at some point or other, maybe manual internal combustion engine driven cars aren't going to be available anymore as a driving license standard. You're not going to be able to do it. So again, that kind of brings me back to my original question: where does that leave anyone else that has an automatic driving license? See, in the United States, it's not it doesn't make any difference. If you learn to drive in the United States, you are allowed to drive either a manual or an automatic. It doesn't matter. It's the same. So maybe that'll be how we adopt it here in Europe. Maybe that'll be exactly the same, or in the UK. Maybe the difference is going to be there is no difference, and anyone that has an automatic driving license automatically will be allowed to drive and ride manuals. Who knows? Yeah, that might end up being the way it goes. But yeah, it's a fascinating kind of little discussion, and for me personally, I do actually agree with the separation between automatics and manuals, because they are totally different experiences and a lot more to think about when you're riding a manual than an automatic. Because with an automatic, all you got to do is just twist and you're off. They call them twist and go bikes, and that's literally it. They're far simpler to ride and far simpler to drive. You can be really lazy with an automatic, whereas in a manual you are constantly adjusting, you're constantly doing something to drive the car. You're constantly changing gears, constantly operating the clutch, constantly operating that at the same time as the throttle and the brakes, at least if you're on a motorcycle, you know? There's a lot more to think about. And then when you're reversing as well, you've got to think about more. And the thing is, it's a skill that you learn over time anyway. Right? Clutch control and things is something that a lot of people get very worried about, but it does get to a point where you don't think about it. You just do it, and you are then afterwards more concerned about the anything you're actually trying to do, whether you're trying to reverse, whether you're trying to pull off, how quickly you're trying to pull off. You don't think about the clutch, you just think about what it is you're actually trying to do with the vehicle. So I've never understood why anyone would just get an automatic driving license to begin with, because driving a manual, once you get the hang of it, it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, interesting little discussion there. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. But yeah, it was just a question that I asked the wifey the other day, and I thought, actually, that might be a good idea for a video. Might be a good little discussion piece for everybody. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And if it is going to stay the same, if it is going to stay the way it is, then definitely get yourself on a manual driving license regardless. Do it anyway, because then it covers all your bases. Yeah, it's just the easiest thing to do. And if you do get the option, or you are forced to do it in electric, which only gives you access to an automatic license, then at some point or other get your manual done as well. Trust me, it is well worth it. But hopefully we won't have to worry about that, because they'll just end up merging automatic and manual driving licenses into the same thing anyway. But it is still a worthwhile skill to have, okay? For any of you that are going to be looking to drive in the near future. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching this one. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Leave a like, get subscribed, and we will catch you all in the next video. Have a good one everywhere, take care. Have a good one everywhere, have a good one everyone, take care, and ride safe.